Welcome to The Real Review, sponsored by Parametric and Lazy Ape Studios, where you get some of the latest happenings, real thoughts, and perspectives in the world of film and television. This is our Coming Soon and News segment, where we cover all things that are coming soon in the world of films and releasing within the next few days or so, as well as discuss some film news, right, Matt?
Sweet.
Yeah, so I'm Joel Cunningham, and I am here with...
Matt Hay.
Matt Hay. How's it going, Matt Hay?
It's going well, man. How are you?
I'm good. A little tired.
Yeah?
Yeah, a little sleepy. Yeah.
Okay.
Might take some naps after. How about after? We'll wait till
okay,
after.
that's a good idea. We're doing a show.
It's probably good to stay away for the... If you hear some snoring, just poke me with a stick.
Okay, you got it.
So we're going to talk about some upcoming films that are going to be coming out within the next few days, like I mentioned. And Matt, why don't you hit us off? Why don't you take us off into this wonderful world of upcoming films?
Right. This weekend, and I'm gonna start us off strong here because I feel like this is gonna be one of the strongest ones of the weekend.
Yeah, this is not looking like, to be honest, a very good weekend for us as reviewers. It's not
unless you are into the suspense horror thriller genre, as I am. So I am excited for the film Get Out.
Oh, good segue.
That is coming out, and so it's about a young African American man who visits his Caucasian girlfriend's mysterious family estate. Mm-hmm. Now it's starring Allison Williams, Daniel Kaluuya, and
Kaluuya.
But I think more noteworthy on this, it's directed and written by Jordan Peele.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
So let me just rewind here and preface this with, I saw this trailer months ago, mm-hmm. and it's like, written by Jordan Peele. Directed by Jordan Peele, and then it started. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a comedy.
you think it's gonna be a joke?
This is
comedy.
This is off the heels of Keanu. You know?
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there, I'm ready to see this thing, and I'm like, okay, I get this. And then it's not funny yet. What's happening? And things start getting really weird. And the first trailer that was released, it was very, very like, very strange, very Twilight Zone-y.
It felt very cheesy. Kind of like cheesy, like, hey, we're boyfriend and girlfriend. We're gonna go visit the family.
Yeah, and then it was like the.
You thought it was a setup for hijinks,
and like a Stepford Wives thing started to happen. Like weird, these people are not real people.
Yes.
Are they aliens or robots? What is happening right now?
Yeah,
and. But more importantly, the first one that I saw, though, was more of a montage of just really weird images and like very brief scenes. And I was like, what is happening? I finished watching it. I didn't even know what was going on, but I was like, I feel like I need to know more about what's happening here. And then another one came out later, another trailer where they further expanded it a little bit. I was like, oh, okay. This is crazy. And I guess I was just kind of just blown away and baffled by the fact that this is a Jordan Peele movie.
Yeah,
right?
Part of me still hopes that deep down, we're going to go to the movie and it's going to be like, surprise, it actually is a comedy. It's all going to be a setup to a joke.
I think there'd be a lot of upset people if that were the case.
It probably wouldn't be getting as good of ratings as it is right now if that were the case as well.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
So I really hope people aren't laughing at this movie.
Yeah, probably
That's not a good sign.
So I will say this, I just got back from watching another film in the theater and they played this as a preview. I didn't tell you about this.
Okay.
And the guy sitting, and I can't stand when people do this, but he's sitting like 5 seats down from me and he just goes, well, that looks stupid. I'm like, wow, buddy, like you're just going to put that out there for everybody to hear.
I think it looks really freaky. Yeah. I'm excited to see. I'm a fan of the genre. So I think... I think it'll be pretty good, and if the buzz about it is any indication, it's got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, it's only with 23 critics, but still, that's pretty legit so far.
Yeah.
So I personally am pretty excited to check it out. I think it looks like it's going to be kind of one of those weird things. We don't know what's happening till the last act, and I don't know. We'll see. Yeah,
it's got a good combination of what looks like real horror, but psychological kind of horror as well.
I like psychological.
There's some visuals that definitely stand out as like the scene where I don't know the character, but he's running towards Daniel's character.
So freaky.
And he's just like just blindly like run right at him, and some of the awkward stares they do at people.
Right.
I'm hoping, because it does, I second what you're saying with the whole Stepford Wives thing.
Yeah.
It kind of has a bit of like a weird feel like that. at the beginning. I'm hoping that maybe they're doing that on purpose, that maybe they're using that to kind of juxtapose what your expectations would be with what the reality is and make it even more freaky. It's like when you see a little girl or a little kid in a scary movie, you're like, okay, this is going to be really bad.
Yeah.
Usually that's okay. So I'm hoping that's kind of what they're setting up. I would say that the one kind of small aspect that I'm a little bit wary of is the acting does look a little kind of weird.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, to me. To me, there's a few times. And I will say this, I'm not a huge fan of horror. We've already talked about this many times. I'll still try, if it's a great movie, I'll still probably do my best to power through and make it happen. But there's just been a couple shots in the preview and the trailer that's kind of made me think, it looks a little silly, like the way that they're kind of like overemphasizing that element or something. So we'll see. Yeah,
we'll see. I have no idea what to expect. I mean, even there's this like just kind of this aura of like mystery around it, and just kind of like mystery, not in a sense of what the movie's about, but more so about like, I don't even know what they're trying to tell me. But like that, there's that sequence where she's like, sink into the floor. Like, like, what?
Yeah, and he just kind of goes into the bed.
I understand like she was trying to like hypnotize him or something like that, but anyways, I'm really looking forward to this.
So I would say this, looking into like kind of the production stuff a little bit here. So it's cinematographer's Toby Oliver.
Okay.
This is the first time working with Jordan Peele, and he's kind of, I would say this, he hasn't done anything yet that's really been like, oh my goodness, with that. He's with Blumhouse Productions, which they're not really known for their standout visual style. They're known for their like effective but cheap production of horror movies.
Blumhouse is incredibly efficient at that these days.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm hoping that maybe this is something that stretched them and pushed them into a new area. I am excited to see Jordan Peele break into a whole new genre and see what he can do with it, and I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. No, that's right. And side note, I love Blumhouse lately. Actually,
I called it Blumhouse, didn't I?
Yeah, it's all good. It's all right. His name's Jason Blum. That's why Blumhouse.
There you go.
Anyway, so he and I think I'm just excited about them because he's like besties now. Jason Blum's besties with Shyamalan, and they're like, that's what their model is, and they make a ton of money. They're a great business model, you know. Make a horror film for $5 million. Yeah,
Split was super successful for him this year, and I didn't even know this. I didn't know that the rights to Unbreakable, which is kind of a spiritual sequel or successor to the Split film, is actually the rights to that film are actually owned by Disney. And so
so they got to figure that out.
Yeah, they got to figure out the rights. That's one of the issues. He's like, basically, M. Night Shyamalan basically said, I'm going to write the script. Yeah. And then we'll decide how we're going to
figure that out.
Yeah, how we're going to handle rights.
We'll see how Jason's like business savvy comes into play for that. So
hopefully they can secure him.
Yeah, anyway, so I would have to rate this thing probably 8 in excitement. I'm pretty excited to see it.
Okay. I'd give it a little lower. I'd probably put it like a 7.5.
I thought you were going to say like, I'll give it a little lower, like a 2.
No, I do. I have a little bit. I'm excited. I think it's just mostly the visual style that I'm a little bit concerned with the acting. So, well, we'll see. I'm excited to overall give it a shot to do well.
We shall see.
Yeah. So what's next on the list, Matt?
Next on the list is a film called Collide. Now, Collide is...
I'm laughing at that because, oh man, just the idea of Collide alone is making me laugh. So go for it.
So it's about an American backpacker who gets involved with a ring of drug smugglers as their driver, though he winds up on the run from his employers across... I don't even know how... Cologne high-speed Autobahn. Okay, so it's a foreign name.
Yeah.
So
I'm blanking on the pronunciation right now for some reason as well.
So Nicholas Hoult, whom I like, Felicity Jones, who I really like as well, Anthony Hopkins, Ben Kingsley. Okay, so there's a lot of great acting talent in this film, and I watched the trailer recently, and I have no idea what's going on in this. So what they fail to mention in the synopsis of this film is that what spurs him, the main character, Nicholas Hoult, to like start working for these drug smugglers is this girl that he meets, Felicity Jones' character, like starts having seizures like in the snow. And she's like, what? And it's like, what's going on? She has like kidney failure. She needs a new kidney and he needs some money. And so that's why he starts working with the drug smugglers. They totally fail to mention that. But then Ben Kingsley shows up, and he's all like the Mandarin from Iron Man 3. And
so she's sick, like she was in A Monster Calls.
Right, exactly. So Felicity Jones, again, is dying, like in A Monster Calls.
Yeah, we've got Anthony Hopkins, which I guess he came from, I don't know, some other project that he was working on to, like, I'm guessing he had like 2 days of work in this, because they probably just wanted to get a name in there to try and add a little bit of, I don't know.
Like, and you're right, because a lot of studios will do that to add a name to a list of people that are going to be in the cast. And where you're right, he could probably be there and knock it out in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
All of his parts.
I'm guessing he's getting up there. I think Westworld, it was very obvious that he did a great job with the character, but it's very obvious that he's kind of, it looks like he's getting a little older. It's getting a little more difficult for him.
A little more
kinda,
taxing.
Yeah, a little more taxing.
But he's great though. I mean, that's the thing though. True about Anthony Hopkins is it, and you'll see actors do that. Even Anthony Hopkins, like he's in the newest Transformers movie, which I'm not really looking forward to coming out.
Yeah,
but he always adds weight.
Right.
And the word that I hear all the time is gravitas.
Right. I mean, the reason I say that is if you look at a lot, he's never been a huge physical actor. He's always been more of like the kind of stand and cerebral. Yeah, I mean, you think of Silence of the Lambs, he's stuck in a jail cell most of the film, but he had a intensity to himself through his demeanor. Just his standing presence had an intensity to it.
Right.
And as he's gotten a bit older now, it's kind of like, well, he still sounds cool and he still kind of fits the roles, but he doesn't have, at least to me, that same level of intensity. Like maybe he's on a scale of 1 to 10 before, he's at like a 9. Now he's at like a 5 to me.
Right.
So I don't know.
So here's the deal. So Anthony Hopkins in it, you're right. So they kind of promote him as being a pretty major part of this film, which you're right, which he may not even be.
Right.
Like his presence is there, but he won't even be in the movie that much. Ben Kingsley, I don't know what is going on with him, because I feel like I haven't seen him in anything big or noteworthy, but he's a great actor. Yeah. So I don't know what's going on there, and it's a very silly character he's playing, it seems like, in this. The action seems silly. The dialogue seems silly. Yeah. And it seems like it's tonally a little bit confused as to what it wants to be.
I mean, looking at what he's been involved in, because I as well, I haven't seen him in too much. I mean, 2015, 2016, he really didn't have too much. He was Bagheera, the voice of Bagheera in the Jungle Book, but...
Bagheera,
sorry. Bagheera, yeah. So he was the voice, but other than that, he really didn't have a lot of roles. But then 2017, 2018, looks like he's got like a ton of projects. So maybe he was just having like a really off year, and he's just trying to look for a project to kind of get involved with.
I'm glad you reminded me of that, because Bagheera was awesome. Yeah. He's probably my favorite character in the Jungle Book movie.
Yeah, he was really good there. The other thing I will say about this film is I'm mixed bag for me and Nicholas Hoult. I feel like I've seen him in some things and thought he was okay. Yeah. In other things, he just comes across as being a little wooden to me. And I don't know why that is. I think maybe it's just like the way that he processes things, and it's not just because one of his famous movies is a zombie. Like there's just like a weird deadness to him in a lot of ways, and I think this role is definitely very stretching for him. Yeah. He's very much reaching to be that sort of lead action star kind of role, whereas in a lot of the other films he's kind of more, there's actiony elements, but he's not like fighting, he's more just running around.
Yeah, I liked him as Nux in Mad Max.
Yeah, I thought he was good there, actually.
There's some actual elements in this that reminded me of that.
Yeah, I maybe this is like a spiritual successor characters for him. But like even in that film, if you think about it, like he's mostly just sitting around and driving. Yeah. So and he's sitting around driving in this one, yeah. So, but he was a secondary character. Mm-hmm. He had an important set of scenes, but it wasn't like the main character. Right. I don't know. I'm not super excited. Felicity Jones, I'm loving. Yeah. I think she's been involved in some really good projects, done some really good things. So I'm excited to see her take on this role. And hopefully, I don't know, love believes the best, Matt. So I'm trying.
We'll see. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Rate this thing. What would you,
on a scale of 1 to 10, sort of?
Yeah.
Probably 5.
I'll go 4.
4? Yeah. Okay.
I'll go 4.
I'm more willing to, I think with a lot of action films like this, I know going into it that it's probably not going to be like competent with story structure, and it's not asking a lot out of me, so I can kind of switch off some elements. I know you're like that too, but I like race movies. I like movies of people driving around in cars and trying to hit each other and stuff. So I can that's pretty easy for me to turn on my brain. It's really going to get upset at me if they're trying to go one of two things. Either they go way too stupid with it, or they go way too far into like we're trying to have depth when it's not there.
Right.
That will end up really ticking me off. Yeah.
So a 5 and a 4. Nice.
There you go. All right. Moving on then. What's the next film?
The next film is Rock Dog.
Yes.
Before I tell you what this is about,
it's a rock dog.
I took my two oldest boys to go see the Lego Batman movie this weekend.
Yes.
And there were like 5 previews for upcoming films. And I remember thinking right after all those previews, like, wow, there is a lot of really not very good looking animated films coming out this next year.
It's like, where's Pixar?
Right.
Pixar.
Yeah. And
DreamWorks.
It's like none of this looks good to me. And Rock Dog was one of those.
Yeah.
So let's get a synopsis here. When a radio falls from the sky into the hands of a wide-eyed Tibetan Mastiff, he leaves home to fulfill his dream of becoming a musician, setting into motion a series of completely unexpected events. So, now let me look at this too, because I want to make sure I got some. So it's got Luke Wilson, you have Eddie Izzard, you have J.K. Simmons, Lewis Black, Kenan Thompson, Mae Whitman. Let's see here. Jorge Garcia, Matt Dillon. There's a ton of people. Sam Elliott.
So I will say the one positive for me, Matt, with this film, I think they really nailed the look of a Tibetan Mastiff.
You're right.
I think they got the look down.
Nobody's going to mistake him for an American Mastiff.
Yeah, and we've been wanting a film about a Tibetan Mastiff that knows how to play the guitar for so long.
I know. We just need that kind of diversity in our life.
Seriously. No, I will say this. I'm all kidding aside. I'm glad they're at least trying something. Right. It does feel like a bit of like a spiritual success. No, I keep saying spiritual success for stuff, but it does feel like a bit of like a play off of Kubo and the Two Strings.
Oh, really? Okay.
Which came out last year. I don't know if that is at all accurate, but I don't know.
I feel like they're trying to play off of Sing.
Potentially.
Yeah.
I could see that too. It's kind of maybe
follow your dreams and do this. Maybe the guy was really inspired by La La Land and was like, follow your dreams and make an animated movie
I could see that,
a Tibetan Mastiff.
Yeah.
Okay, so the trailer that I saw was mainly about, so he's got this dream to be a musician. He's got this like makeshift like home guitar, and then he hears radio falls from like and a bunch of other stuff from like an airplane or something like that.
As it would.
Right.
And survive.
And
I'm
he's
guessing
like,
physics could kind of get thrown out of the window with this one. Just
right. And he listens to a broadcast of someone that's like, you need to follow your dreams and do this thing. And then he tells his dad, and it does the traditional, like his dad's like, you're not going to do this. You're going to be a watchdog or whatever.
Yeah.
And
which is like Kung Fu
actually
Panda almost.
Well, here's the thing: they show that resolution in the trailer. Like, his dad's like, you go pursue your dream or whatever it is.
So you've got the beginning and you've got the end for the most part.
But oh man, none of the jokes were funny. The animation reminds me of that terrible movie that came out last year called Norm of the North.
Yeah. It reminds me of what's that show, Jimmy Rocket, just something like, I forget the name of the show, but it's like a Nickelodeon show. It looks like to me this would be a kid's television show,
right? That
they just somehow stretched out into a full length.
Sometimes that happens. I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case, honestly. But man, I don't know. It wasn't funny. The kids didn't laugh. They're usually good like test audience when they come with me, if they're laughing at something. All right.
Yeah. Sorry, Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius.
Okay,
that's what I was talking about.
Johnny Rockets.
Yeah, Johnny Rockets. Yeah. It looks like the studio for that show like upgraded their computers a little bit, and they decided they wanted to make a film. I don't know.
They upgraded the computers to the 2010 model.
Yeah, I like Eddie Izzard. I like J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, there's great voice acting and talent. I mean,
Luke Wilson is kind of like one of those guys that he's not really funny to me. He's more just kind of like there.
Right.
A lot of times he's there to be like a character that other people bounce off of. He's kind of the straight man.
Right.
So it's interesting they'd put him kind of as the lead role in this. I mean, he's great in Zoolander. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I thought he was hilarious in that. But I don't know. Sorry, no, that's his brother, not Luke Wilson.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah. So
it's Owen.
Owen Wilson. Luke Wilson. Yeah. I mean, he kind of plays this flat character that people they bounce things off of.
Right.
So I'm not super excited to see this. I'm probably less excited to see this than I am for Collide, by far.
Right.
Yeah.
So, if you like the suspense horror thriller genre, Get Out.
Yeah, go
Not
watch
Rock
Get Out.
Dog.
Yeah.
However, I will say this. I've learned in the past never to underestimate the power of a children's film. When there's nothing else out.
Says a man who has kids. He knows
Right.
this. Yeah.
So when there's nothing else out, you got to give it credit to that. It's, parents want to take their kids to something. So
yeah,
they're going to see this because they've already had the opportunity to see Lego Batman. However, I still think Lego Batman is going to crush this film.
Oh, for sure. I think it'll probably do equal number, if anything. I mean, I'm guessing they'll probably do equal ticket sales, even though they're both going to be, Lego Batman will have been out a lot longer at that point. The other thing I'd say is this is being directed by Ash Brannon, and he was the director for another animated film called Surf's Up, which some people saw and kind of did okay. Like some people liked it. That was.
There's a sequel coming out of that soon.
Is there?
Yeah.
I did not know that, but it doesn't that's not shocking to me that he would have directed this one prior, because it kind of felt like the same style of film,
right?
More of like the kiddiness. Whereas the cool thing about a lot of animated films these days, like DreamWorks and Kubo and the Two Strings and all that, they're kind of like genre of film with the stop motion animation, and with Pixar, they're making films that can be animated but adult in nature,
right?
And kind of have like an adult thematic feel to them. This one very much feels like that kind of same old tried and true kid thing, which is, kid wants to accomplish his goal and his dream, comes up against forces that try and stop him, and then finds the courage and the ability to overcome. And, that's basically where we're going to go with the film.
Yeah. So, my excitement level, let's do that.
Should we do a scale 1 to 10 excitement level?
1. Okay, excitement level.
Does it measure?
3.
Yeah.
Minus.
Yeah.
3 minus. 3 minus 2, maybe a 1.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'd probably put it around a 3, like 2.5, 3. Yeah. I'll probably end up seeing it just because if I have to go see, I'm if I have to go see it, I'm probably more inclined to see this than Get Out, just because you love horror and I'm like okay with horror.
Yeah.
So I'll probably be the one that's afraid to see so I can review it. But I'm taking one for the team, Matt.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. So awesome. What else do we want to go over to? I think we got some news, right?
Yeah, we do have some news items. I want to jump over to this.
Okay.
Funny story. Just a few days ago, we were talking about how...
I think we've talked about this twice now, right?
I know, so yes. So, funny story. We just, a couple of days ago, we were talking about how Matt Reeves was in talks to potentially direct the next Batman movie, standalone Batman movie.
And how you're like, that is so great. It's going to be a chance for him to show us that he really could be something. It could be his first movie that he really breaks out in. And
so we're
all this good stuff.
We're just now hearing that he has dropped out of being in talks.
Another one bites
directing.
the dust.
Man, I don't know. DC's got some issues. They've gone through a revolving wheel of directors with The Flash now.
Yeah.
Now with Batman, it was going to be Ben Affleck, stopped. He's out, and then now it's going to be Matt Reeves, and now he's out. I don't know if we're looking at anybody potentially, but
I haven't heard any news of them looking for anybody yet. I know that they went. Of course, they always when they're like, "Whoa, we've got plenty of people in talks," and he's not necessarily out. They always make it sound as best as possible, but they haven't really. There's been no leaks of any news of any specific people that might be attached to it.
Right.
It definitely really. You lose one director, it says potentially, well, maybe this just wasn't the right project for them. Maybe there was elements that just weren't working for them or something. You lose 2 directors, especially a guy like Matt Reeves, who really, what does he have to lose? It's not like he's doing bad projects, but it's not like he's got some other series of films that are blowing it out of the water right now. That's kind of telling me something.
There's got to be some sort of studio meddling of some sort.
It's either that to me or definitely script.
Right.
Because they have a script that's been written and they're doing polishes on it.
Yeah.
But supposedly, that's one of the main issues that Ben Affleck even talked about when he was on board.
Right.
So, we've actually technically, this is the 3rd director. No, this is the second director. Yeah,
the Flash went through 3.
Right,
actually, they're still trying to figure out the Flash.
Well, we'll see about that one. But
rewrite.
So two directors. But it tells me that maybe the script has got some issues as well, potentially.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see what happens. DC's got to figure something out because they're having a hard time with their properties, and you don't hear stuff like this happening at. I hate to make the comparison because they want to try and be different. I'm sure they champion each other on in their own way, but you don't hear stuff like that at Marvel happening.
Yeah.
Not to the extent of this. I mean, you can reference back to Edgar Wright with the Ant-Man thing, but that was a completely different story. And that movie actually still turned out good.
Right, it did. And then you also, I mean, Joss Whedon, who did the first couple Avenger films, said that he wasn't going to come back after the second one because of issues that he had. But it still turned out to be a good film.
I liked Ultron. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's really hard to say. They've had such a consistent. I mean, maybe this is a good thing. Maybe they are going to have to come to grips that they're just not doing something right. So instead of us constantly getting these bad films that get spit out because they have to do something,
right?
Maybe they're going to have to take a long, hard look in that mirror and go, we're doing something wrong.
Right. So. Here, and this is great, actually, because this kind of ties into the next news story I want to talk about.
Cool.
Is another rumor they have going on is that Mel Gibson might be in talks to direct the next Suicide Squad movie. Okay, so here's the thing. Mel Gibson is not the type of person that will take anything from the studio. He's not gonna listen to them. If he's in talks to do it, I know he's signing something that says you need to let me make my movie or I'm not making it.
Yeah, so part of me says that. Part of me also says that he's still trying to recover from all of the news stuff, all of the bad press, all of the... Yeah. I mean, he did make a good comeback with Hacksaw Ridge, and he got a lot of good publicity for that. But he is still... There's a lot of people in the studio world that he kind of has that left that bad taste in his mouth. So what he might be doing here is he might be attempting to take on a more commercial type film that would be mainstream successable. Brokeback. Holy cow. Hacksaw was still, it's a war movie. It's an R-rated war movie. You know what I mean? Definitely not Brokeback. Holy cow. Don't even know where that came from. But he's taken on a project there that's an R-rated action film, where this is more of a family, there would be more of a family fare, PG-13 kind of action, mainstream blockbuster type film. So it could be that. I agree. Mel Gibson usually doesn't take on projects that he doesn't have a good sense of and a good feel for what that film could be or how it would look as far as directing it. But I don't know what he's thinking. It seems weird to me that he would be considered. Yeah,
I get that idea that he's trying to get onto the good side, back onto the good side of everybody. Obviously it's going to take forever for him to fully get to that point just because of some of the stuff that he's done in his past, but he's a brilliant filmmaker.
Yeah.
And so absolutely. I think I don't see it happening unless it's his vision for it. And I don't think that I personally don't think that he would do something like that, because I know coming with interviews out from Hacksaw Ridge, he wrote several scripts for different films he wants to work on in the past. Why would he waste his time doing something like this? Yeah. So I feel like he would put his own stamp on it and do it that way.
Yeah.
I will say this, with his experience and with his eye, let's say he does it even without full control. Mm-hmm. I do say that there's a lot more potential for it to be a better film than the
I would
first
agree
one.
With that. It would actually make me a bit more excited. And I'm going to be very clear and say that I don't support the comments or the actions of Mel Gibson.
Right.
When he made all those derogatory comments and everything, I don't support those. But he did do good films. He did do good directing. And he never turned out anything that I was like, well, that's garbage.
Yeah.
Yep. He never really had a misstep there. His missteps more came outside of film. So I would be excited in the sense of, this is a film that probably would turn out decently.
Yeah.
But again, at this point, for me, I don't want to say too much until there's more word of him actually being on board.
We'll probably find out tomorrow that he's dropped out of it.
Yeah. I mean, they couldn't, this is saying a lot, but they couldn't have done much worse with the first movie, you know what I mean, in my mind? Right. So it's like there's room for a lot of improvement. Any new options would potentially be an improvement for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. So anyways, that's that. The next thing I want to talk about in the news world.
Yep.
Now, I actually heard about this relatively recently, and I think there's a lot of elements to this. So you have the Coen Brothers.
Yes.
They've recently been they're in talks to rework and remake the script for a newer iteration of Scarface.
Yes.
Okay. So they're still trying to find a director, though. So they're looking at Peter Berg, which I already told you about. I really, really like.
Yeah.
And then they have they're also talking about having Diego Luna, who was in Rogue One more recently, play Tony. So main guy.
Yeah.
So there's aspects of this that I like.
Yeah.
First off, and then there's other that I don't. So the Coen Brothers, I don't know how I feel about that.
As far as the Scarface film, it's crazy to me.
That's weird.
Because they do their thing that they do so well.
It's quirky,
is quirky kind of indie type feel movies that are more like they're drama actions.
Right.
Drama, I don't know even No Country for Old Men.
Actions.
Yeah, which was very much an action-y suspense film. Had real dramatic tension to it and dramatic feel. Like even just the coin toss scene.
Right.
Whereas Scarface, if you think of the first Scarface movie, it's well known for, it almost satires like action films, but it also is just because of the amount of violence and the amount of drug usage, and it like almost, it shines like a, not just shines a light onto the idea of a gangster like Tony Montana becoming
Tony Montana,
who you gonna, it's like, it's surreal in a way. It goes so crazy with it and so big with it that it takes on this like surreal level of reality. And even in the way they shot it and staged things, it just feels like bigger than life.
Right.
And that's not really a Coen brother thing. You know what I mean? They don't take on films that are like larger than life. Their films tend to be a lot more intimate, a lot more well connected with the characters. So I will say this, if they're going to do this film, it actually does make sense for them to put a person like Diego Luna in it, because I think that would be the kind of character that they would have in a Scarface type film. And they would very much try to make this film, I think, more grounded. It would probably come across much more as like a real person actually who's doing this, who's going into this world of, mobsters and drugs and everything like that. So what are your thoughts, Matt?
Right. Yeah. So Diego Luna, I feel like I really can't give a good perspective on because I've only seen him in Rogue One.
Yeah.
But I do know that he has a body of work that people do appreciate.
Yeah.
So I think that there could be possibilities there. In Rogue One, I don't feel like he tapped any of that emotional heft and weight and even charisma for that matter. That would be necessary to play Tony, but we'll see. I don't know. I'd say the one big thing for me is Peter Berg. I'm a huge fan of him.
So that's the other thing. I don't know if we mentioned. So Peter Berg, director of Lone Survivor and a bunch of other recent films, is signed on to potentially be taking the helm as directing it.
Yeah, I did mention that.
Oh,
so
did you? Okay.
The big thing with that is, Lone Survivor, more recently Deepwater Horizon, and Patriots Day, which both came out last year. Dude is busy.
Yeah.
But he... I love his Patriots Day is one of my favorite movies of last year.
Yeah.
I really, really liked it. It's heavy, but handled with care. The acting was great. I think it's Wahlberg's best performance. I think Peter Berg was able to pull that out of him.
Yeah.
So if they go with that route, I think that it'd be in good directing hands. I hated Hail Caesar.
Yeah, I did too.
And so
pretty bad.
Yeah, I did not like Hail Caesar at all. If they can just tap into and maybe expound on their, No Country.
Yeah.
I think that would be.
It'll be interesting to see what this kind of a team up would be, because obviously these people have not worked together. Peter Berg's never worked with Coen Brothers, and Peter Berg comes from, he did Battleship way back in 2012, but he's moved on and he's doing these more kind of like real...
I kind of give him a pass for Battleship because of these last three films.
I feel like Battleship was like he needed a vehicle to do bigger films like this maybe. I mean, he did Hancock too.
Yeah.
So I thought Hancock was okay, but it felt like at that point he was still kind of just taking on the films that the studio maybe wanted him to do, and then he started taking on films that were like real in a sense.
Yeah.
And his films, they're action, but they're also drama. But he hasn't done something like Scarface in my mind. That's kind of like this, surreal type environment with its own sense of reality to it.
Right.
But we'll see. I mean, obviously Battleship did, but they tried to be grounded with it. They just failed miserably.
Right.
Same with Hancock. But we'll see. I mean, I don't know.
It's a combination of all three. We'll just have to see. I mean, there's talent, definitely talent in all three of those.
It's a big question mark to me.
I think we'll have to just wait and see kind of what happens with that.
Yep.
But yeah, other than that, the last thing I want to see, and this kind of brought a lot of joy to my day is Donald Glover and James Earl Jones have been respectively cast as the voices of Simba and Mufasa in Jon Favreau's Lion King live action. Well, which is funny. We say live action, considering that the Lion King doesn't have any human interaction in
live
it.
Animal action.
Right. So he did. If you're not aware, right. So he did the Jungle Book more recently this last year, which I really liked. And it just, for the most part, had one human in it. Lion King doesn't have any.
Yeah.
But just if we're just talking about the news, Donald Glover is great.
Yeah.
I love Donald Glover. He's got a lot going on. And I talked about this on our website too, but it just seems like we have Disney, who owns Star Wars and both this property.
Yep.
Is, they cast Donald Glover over on their Star Wars side as young Lando. Mm-hmm. Now they're like, let's bring him over to our animated revisited live action side or whatever we're calling it.
Yep.
And I think it's great. He's going to be doing Simba. I think it's awesome. Apparently, Jonathan Taylor Thomas was way too busy.
He's just got so many autographs he's still signing from the original.
Yeah, so he's just way too busy to come back and do it. But I think it is incredible that they're going with James Earl again for Mufasa. I think that is awesome.
I think that is awesome. Yeah, I hope he manages to keep alive until they get it done. But he's getting up there. He's a great guy, great voice actor. I think Donald Glover is a really good person to sign on here. I loved him in Community.
Yeah.
I thought he did a really good job there. Obviously he went through this period of doing kind of music and his own thing, and I think he did some voiceover work and stuff on Adventure Time as well. So I'm totally cool with him coming in and doing the voices, and I think he'd do a great job. But then it'll be cool to see him in the Han Solo film as well. I have my own opinions about Han Solo, which we can talk about at some point. I'm not super excited about that at the moment.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit a few episodes back, but yeah, we'll see. As for this news, I am pumped. I liked what Favreau did with the Jungle Book. I think that if he could bring that sensibility to The Lion King, he did a lot to honor the original, but not to make it too much of a copy, but
made it its own thing. But it was still honoring,
And it wasn't an overbearing musical either. Like, it had some music in it, but it wasn't like a musical. Right. So I think they do that with this. Although I did own the Lion King soundtrack, and that was pretty. It was on tape, actually.
Did you want to be a Mighty King?
Yeah, I did want to be Mighty King. So enemies beware. Okay.
Are you still working on that, Roy?
Yes, I'm still working on it. Yep, it's all good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, Matt.
It's super awesome-tastic, and that's really actually all we have for our upcoming and news segment.
There you go.
So I think the biggest thing here, guys, is let us know what's going on.
Yeah.
Let us know what's happening. Let us know what questions you have. You can actually reach us over at realreviewmedia@gmail.com and send us an email. Let us know what's happening. You can visit our website, check out what news items we have going on over there. We try and update that actually pretty frequently.
Yes.
And that's at realreviewmedia.com. Again, real spelled REEL. And you can find us on facebook.com/realreviewmedia.
Yeah.
And
don't forget that Facebook, y'all.
Yeah. Don't forget that at all. And Instagram too. Check it out, Real Review Media. So
are we on Insta?
We are, man.
That's cool.
That's happening.
That's awesome.
So other than that, anything else you want to add?
Nah, that's it.
That's it. Well, hey, guess what? It's been real.
It's been real.